Hi, Steve. Steve. Hey, oh, geez, man, there must be a problem with our connection again. Steve?
Oh, hey, Jim. Sorry, I was just a little spaced out.
And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where each week we two guys get together and we two guys talk about records. Spacey one today. We'll get there in a second. My name is Jim and I own a record store.
And I am Steve, a record collector.
I'm
You
glad that there's
spaced
no
out.
problem. Yeah, you're spaced out. No problem with the connection so far. We'll knock on some
Yeah,
wood there just to make sure. But
exactly.
boy, I tell you what, Steve, once we came up with the idea for this week's episode, it just kind of, well, accelerated like a snowball of a comet in the middle of space, didn't it?
It did. It really got me, though, digging back into my collection. I'd be pulling out, listening, and re listening. So it was a good thing, except now I got a lot of crap to put away.
Well, maybe you'll even get a little more episodic stuff out of this for your channel down the line. But
That's a good choice.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what kind of drew me to this, Steve, is a couple of my pickups this week showed up as space rock. But then, as
Oh,
we'll get to in my pickups here, once we decided on the topic for this week's episode, I got another couple of them that came in that were space rock. So this is it's very appropriate for today. It's gonna be a fun one,
yeah, I think so.
as we do each and every week on the podcast. We start off with our recent pickups, and I don't mean to giggle. I know Steve had a VC meetup. I'm going to take a nap while you go through yours. So you had a big week. I'm assuming you had the guys come in, a couple of guys come in, and you hit some stores in and
Yeah.
around Denver.
Yeah, there was a group. There was five of us out there. A
Wow.
Chance flew in from St. Louis to spend a day here, and so we spent the whole day. Hit three record stores, the same three we hit last time when Dave, local bandography, came in. Now Chance's channel is Concert Buddy, and he
Yep.
has the YouTube community or the YouTube community broadcast podcast,
Yep.
something like that. So yeah, it was a really good time. Though I was much better than last time. Last time that thing was just, it cost me. I mean, I'm still trying. I'm still hiding from the law, for bill collecting. So, but yeah. So this week picked up David Bowie live. This is the 1990 Ryko disc. Uh, Version of it, so it's on clear vinyl. I, critics did not like this one. It's been panned pretty bad, but I like it. I was introduced to David Bowie by watching the Midnight Special or Don Kirshner's
Oh
rock
yeah.
concert,
Yep.
one of those two, when they showed this concert for 1984. So that brought me into, that's where I learned about David Bowie. So happy to have that. Uh, Brian Jonestown Massacre. I think this is their second album, and it is called Methadrone. It's psychedelic. Oh, is it space rock? I don't know.
It's
It could
shoegazy.
probably be considered. It's very shoegazy. It's very drug oriented. Very exciting inner sleeve. I don't know why even bother. I mean, okay, whatever. But this is one of, I think, the better Brian Jonestown Massacre albums. It's a group to me that kind of goes up and down a little bit as far as quality, but this was a good one. Brand new, and this was put in my hands by Michael Poetry on Plastic. The band's called Turnstile, and it's Never Enough. And it used to be more of a, almost like a death type metal group, but it turned more shoegazy on this
Huh.
album. Would that be space rock? I don't know, but that's where, and it's really really good. I'd never heard of this group, but he had recently done a review on his channel for it, and so he goes, "You would really really like this," and threw it in my hands, and I bought it, and he was right. I did like it. He also suggested Brahms Symphony Number 1. This is Speaker's Corner. He goes, it is the best sounding repress of this. I like Brahms. I like classical, so I have no problem if getting something new and different from it. I'm pretty sure I have a copy of Brahms Number 1, but I guess this one's going to just blow my hair back. It'll sound so exciting.
The Speaker's Corner stuff, those are good pressings.
It is. Yes, they are. Very good pressings. Field of Dreams. I love that movie. The soundtrack's been very good. I've never seen the soundtrack, but this was on, I think, a record store day, possibly, on a green vinyl. And because it's corn, right? So it's got to look like a corn field. Yeah, it's
Steve,
Field of Dreams.
If you spin it, they will listen.
Yes, very true. And they have. So, and look at a very young Kevin Costner. And just last couple, I've got this in the mail. Massive Attack's Mezzanine. One of the best albums from Massive Attack. By now, techno was taken over, electronica was taken over. Yeah, these guys, Massive Attack, kind of had more of a shoegazy start, went into the rock, more electronics in this. So, I finally got a copy, repress of this because it is a very, very good album from the 90s. And I think this is my last one. It is. It's the Dixie Chicks' second album. I like the Dixie Chicks. And this is before they became just the Chicks. So here we got Dixie still in there. The first albums I'd like to get, but I haven't listened to it yet, but I know what's on there. It was really inexpensive. So I thought, at that price, hell, I'll just buy it. So I have a few of their albums. Just enjoyable.
Well, cool.
So that's it.
You tempered yourself a little bit. That's good.
I did. There was some expensive. No, I don't need it. I don't, whatever. I pushed back.
I think especially so because you got a box set in the mail also, didn't you?
Oh God, yes. That's over here. I forgot about that. Oh.
Just remembering that. Yep.
Yes. Talking Heads. The very first one, more songs about buildings and food. It's a 4-album set. The album, then we got alternate takes. Then 2 albums are from a live concert from 78. Beautiful hard bound book, 60-page book on here. Interviews from each of the band members about making this album. And yeah, very nice box set. The second one now from the Talking Heads that I don't have room for, so something has to get pulled out to go in. But and there's more coming. I'll probably buy them. I was telling someone, says, between Talking Heads and Velvet Underground, I'm pretty much a sucker for whatever they're going to put out and buy. Yep. So.
Oh, well, you texted me when they announced the release of that and asking if we could get the box set. And yes, indeed, we could. I mean, and there is a scaled back version of that reissue as well. So, but I'm glad to see that you're enjoying the larger format version of it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's just an important group to me.
Yep.
So
well, cool.
That's it, Jim.
All righty. My side. Some good stuff, and definitely leaning into the space rock theme this week. And the first one was by design. The other 2 just happenstance. They showed, and I was like, okay, we are meant to talk about this subject today now that these have shown. Let me start off with this. You just said sucker for anything Velvet Underground or Talking Heads, and guess what I grabbed, Steve? I got another Pink Floyd boot, a live boot. Couldn't help it.
Didn't we on a past broadcast? I think I'm done with the Pink Floyd live boots. I'm satisfied. Yeah. I got whatever.
I did.
There you go.
I did say that, but then this one showed up, and it's a new one, and it is, I haven't even checked to see if it's in Discogs yet. It's live in London, 1971, and it is some BBC John Peel stuff recorded at the Paris Theatre in London of 71. I went looking through my other Floyd boot collection. I wanted to make sure I didn't have this concert already, and I didn't. So
Mhm.
that means it's allowable. Double LP, kind of a neat little gatefold in there, and of course they're going to put this on clear vinyl. Sounds okay. It's a boot from that era, and the BBC stuff's pretty good. So nothing nothing bad on it. It's still good. But yeah, this has got some. It's got their early stuff. So that era, Fat Old Sun, One of These Days, Embryo, Echoes, and Astronomy Domini, all spacey, man. So
Yeah.
so
Very nice.
now I'm done. Mark this this episode.
Okay.
I'm done with Pink Floyd boots.
Right.
Okay, now onward to a pair that I pulled in, and I've had these in the store before, and just kind of passed them through, put them out. They're not terribly expensive albums, but the set that I've got a hold of here, absolutely beautiful condition. These things are as near mint gets for being originals, and so I gave them a bit of a better listen this time, and I actually dug it. And right into it, I have a pair of albums from the band Clatu.
Yeah.
They're one self-titled in the U.S., but it's called what is it called in Canada? These guys are Canadian. Let's see here. It is officially titled 347 EST, but again, here in the U.S., it's just their self-titled Clatu. And these things sound really good. I do enjoy this. It is space rock. It's prog. It's space. I had to look them up a little bit because I'd forgotten about it, but there is a little controversy. We'll get into the space rock side of things later on in this episode in the discussion. But a little bit of background on Clatu is that these guys, there was a bit of a I don't know, conspiracy theory, if you will, controversy on whether or not this was actually the Beatles. So when this was originally released, it was a Canadian prog rock band formed in '73, and they were named after the extraterrestrial character from the 1951 sci-fi film The Day the Earth Stood Still, Clatu, the giant robot, if you recall in there. Here's where it gets funny. The band had cultivated a very mysterious persona by omitting any personal details, photos, or individual credits on this debut album, 347 EST, released as Clatu in the U.S. But their music blended psych pop, progressive rock, and Beatles-esque harmonies with some lush arrangements amid a sci-fi themed lyrics. So calling occupants of interplanetary craft originated with these guys, not the Carpenters. So the conspiracy theory goes on this. In 1977, a conspiracy theory emerged because of the kind of mysterious nature of this album that Clatu was actually the Beatles recording under a pseudonym. This was sparked by a Providence Journal article by a musical journalist named Steve Smith, who speculated that 347 EST could be a covert Beatles reunion album due to several factors. And I do remember reading about this conspiracy theory before on that. But basically, it said because of the presentation and the mystery surrounding it, the album lacked any band member names, photos, or producer credits, listing only Clatu as the writer and publisher. Secondly, and this is most important, the very Beatles-esque sound. If you listen to this album, it could be the late Beatles. Vocal harmonies, guitar work, and production echoed the Beatles with tracks like Sub Rosa's Subway and a McCartney era, Ram era style and sound as well. And most importantly, in listening to this too, you hear a lot of George Harrison influence at the very least. Thirdly, it's on Capitol Records, which was the Beatles' U.S. label. And then this big one here, adding to the speculation, was Ringo Starr's 1974 album, Goodnight Vienna. Do you remember this one at all? So Goodnight Vienna. I mean, he's featured Clatu, the robot from The Day the Earth Stood Still, on the cover. So again, in these pre-internet days, you've got speculation just swirling that, hey, these guys sound like the Beatles. Clatu is trying to be mysterious. There's Ringo. And then finally, the author of the conspiracy theory basically said that the cultural context after the Beatles breakup in 1970, fans were desperate for a reunion. and primed by prior conspiracies like, the Paul is dead type of stuff, making them eager so that they would be looking for clues in Clatu's music and artwork that would say, hey, the Beatles are back, but it is not the case. It was found out to be Clatu. When that was finally revealed, though, I mean, the speculation and the theory that Clatu was the Beatles made the album sales soar.
Oh man,
Yes.
kidding. It just would have probably done nothing, and then that comes on because I remember that people are going, "This is Beatles, yeah, I think it's the Beatles."
But when they were found out, guess what happened?
They returned them.
They didn't return them, but sales just fell off a cliff, and then nobody seemed to want to go for their second album.
Yeah,
because in a lot of ways, I think fans felt betrayed that these guys were, that they felt that they were purposely imitating and trying to be the Beatles, just as kind of a PR stunt to get them pulled out there. So
I didn't even know they had a second album. That's how bad it sung.
Well, I guess there's a total of 5 albums. I just have these 2, but they're fun regardless, and it's a neat little backstory behind them. Okay, and finally, kind of a late add to this, and this is just one of those things like we'd already decided to talk about space rock, and then this showed up. It was sealed, and once I got it, looked at it in Discogs, I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to this. This is a combination live album, and it is from a pair of artists named Papier and Electric Moon. Let me get the poly sleeve off of that. Papier, yes.
Out of Denmark.
Yes, Papier and Electric Moon, and this is called the Paper Moon Sessions. It's live at Roadburn in 2014. So it took me a little digging on this too, but Papier meets Electric Moon. Papier, as you said, is a instrumental rock trio from Copenhagen, Denmark, and Electric Moon are a German psychedelic space rock trio formed in 2009. So you combine these two things together, that German space rock with the psych instrumental stuff from Papier. I threw this on the turntable, Steve, and was instantly impressed. It is modern, yes, 2014, so we're already over 10 years old. Psych space rock. It's droney. It's I don't want to say jam bandy because it doesn't go the route of like a Goose or what are the other guys that put out the King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. It's heavier rock though. It's got that German krautrock feel to it and droney, but very, very cool stuff. So I thought this is a great ad. Hopefully, actually, I think I looked. I don't think that this is in. I don't think that this is in Spotify, so I can't put a link up to it. But I'll put in some Papier and some of the Paper Moon stuff just so you can get an idea of what that is. So very cool. It is.
Last night, I just ordered the latest Papier album.
Really? Okay. Wow.
2022. Yeah, it came. That was the last one. God, it's a good group. In fact, it's on my list of best. The album I got is on my list of best for this century.
Oh wow! Okay, well,
looking forward to. They're fantastic. I think.
Well, I've not heard of them. Now I have, and it's probably a good thing that I saw that and listened to it before I showed it in a drop video and you saw it.
I know. It's like.
Well, as we do always when we do our recent pickups and then further on into the discussion, we'll put together a Spotify playlist so you folks can listen in on some of these sound samples of the things that we're hearing or listening to. Again, this particular Paper Moon Sessions is not in there. I think I checked that already, but we'll put up some other stuff here. But you can find that playlist in the description of both the Spotify description of this episode and the YouTube episode description. Click on that, when you're done listening and watching, of course, to the episode. Makes good stuff for a road trip. So, Steve, you feeling spaced out still, or are you a little more back to earth?
Kind of back now. We've settled in. We're ready to go.
Well, the
Can't guarantee what it'll be like when we're done.
No, heck no. The Clatu albums kind of set that off for me this week when we were trying to think of a topic for discussion. I thought this is very cool. Yeah, the band's got an interesting history, but the fact that they've got that sci-fi tinged theme right down to their name, and even some of their songs, like the Calling Occupants, does qualify them for space rock. So I did a little digging, talked with you, and that really kind of opened the doors for this discussion of what is space rock.
Yeah.
And let me go back to that initial. This is what I had described. Space rock is a subgenre of rock music which is characterized by its atmospheric, psychedelic, and experimental sound, often evoking themes of outer space, science fiction, or cosmic exploration. It blends elements of psych rock, prog rock, and sometimes krautrock, and that's where I get a little iffy there, but with a focus on creating an immersive and otherworldly vibe. There are some very early examples, and yes, we're going to go to the Floyd route. You almost kind of have to, talking about this in the early Floyd. There's a couple of Rush. I don't want to dwell on those because we go to that well very, very often. But as we work our way through this today, Steve, one of the things that really caught my attention was they said that space rock is really the precursor of what would become shoegaze.
Yeah, I read that, and that I never put those two together ever. But I can see what they're talking about, how it fits in.
Being the fact that shoegaze, and again, I would have always thought that shoegaze is really kind of an offshoot of one of your other biggies, the droning from the early Velvet Underground.
Yeah.
But yet you don't see Velvet Underground or the VU marked in this space rock. Is that just solely because of their lyrical content, the drugs or whatever the case, and not the spaciness of the early Floyd?
Well, looking into this, they talked a lot about space rock deals with drugs. And
True.
some of these groups that, are said these are space rock, they are heavy. I mean, they make Velvet Underground look like nothing. I mean, oh, they just experiment. We're the big, we're into it full. It's so that's what I found interesting. I just think Velvet Underground, their music wasn't just this droning. That was just when John Cale. When
Yep.
John Cale left, it no longer was that way. The drone was pretty much gone. Reed was trying to write more pop songs. Shoegaze, that drone's there. It's generally a lot of drugs, but it gets trippier, I think.
It does. Now, one of the first things, of course, that we've got to kick into, and I've got to grab those from behind me here, you've got to start this discussion off with Pink Floyd, as many of our discussions tend to go, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But especially the Barrett years in the first, and I've got my OGs at home, so I'm just going to show the store's copy of the first two Floyd albums, Piper at the Gates of Dawn and Saucer Full of Secrets. Now, in and of themselves, these are psychedelic rock albums. I don't put too much stock in the space rock side of things for these because of their psychedelic nature, but you get songs like Astronomy Domini in here, and Interstellar Overdrive, and on Saucer,
Yep.
you've got the Saucer Full of Secrets and Let There Be More Light, set controls for the Heart of the Sun. In and of themselves, I can see the beginnings of space rock, but it's when you get to the Floyd boots, the concerts from that era, the bootleg makers, as I show with the other stuff, and I'm just going to show a couple here, really began to embrace that space rock sensibility of the early Floyd with at least some of this. We've got this Montreux 1970 with the very, very spaced out cover. We've shown that before. Another one that I've got is Pink Floyd, The Perfect Union in Deep Space. So you've got all of those songs on there, The Embryo, Fat Old Sun, Set Controls. So the early Floyd, it's inescapable. Whether or not I feel personally that the first two albums may not qualify as space rock outright, it's undeniable that is the kind of beginnings of that subgenre.
Yeah. You think of their early light shows and everything. I get psychedelic, but it was trippy.
Yes. Well, the experimental psychedelics that they were taking may have taken them on those journeys.
Yeah, very much so, especially Sid.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree. It is the beginning. You have that feeling. It's morphed, it's changed, but obviously upon when you start researching, it's like it's gone here, it's gone there. I mean, there's a lot of crossing going on. It does get confusing.
It does. But then next, one of the big ones, and I think you've got this one pulled, from 70. Where are we going in here? 73. Yep, 1973 is the Hawkwind, and this is
Yeah,
cited.
actually.
Yeah, everywhere I look, this
Yeah,
is
no, go
cited
ahead.
as pretty much everything you look at when you're looking at what space rock is and the pinnacle of albums. This one comes up all the time.
Yeah, I have a few of them. This one's from 1971, and it is In Search of Space. So, I mean, that just says it all. They're searching for it right then and there. And this is the one that folds out. It goes all over the place. There's a book in here. It's just really kind of cool copy and neat. Yeah, very neat. Hawkwind basically is the group of Dave Brock and a host of 10,000 other players that have been in the band. But
Yes.
Dave Brock, he's the one consistent. It's still going. I think it's still going. I don't think he's dead yet. But yeah, so very cool album. Of course, the early Hawkwind was also famous for Stacia Blake. And Stacia Blake was their nude singer that danced from 71 to 74 at their live shows. Very popular.
Oh, gee, why?
And that helped bring in the crowd. But here was the other one you're talking about, Space Ritual live album. Yep. And, definitely neat. And then this is another one I had. I don't even know why, how or what, but 1972, Hawkwind 1972 on the BBC. So
it's a newer boot, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it is. It's a newer boot. And this is the first, I think I just bought it because it said Hawkwind. I'll give it a try, but I had no idea what I mean, it's from 2020. This came out. So that's my Hawkwind. And otherwise, if you want to collect Hawkwind, it's probably a bigger catalog than King Gizzard, Lizard, Wizard, whatever.
That's a lot of live stuff. My Hawkwind is pretty much limited to Space Ritual, and that's simply because it's very intriguing music. But the cover, that multi fold out cover, which I'm not going to get into because I'll start knocking stuff down all over the place here. It's just it's a fun album to have simply because of the design and because of the music.
Yeah. Back in the days where you could do whatever because the record company says, okay, we'll make those album covers for you.
Now, one of the other space rock-ish, and I am very, very hesitant to call Yes a space rock band because we've kind of covered that when we did our episode on prog rock, and they lean much more toward the symphonic side of prog rock.
True.
But, and here's the but the album covers of Yes, some of the songs of Yes evoke that idea of space and just trippiness and getting out there. So there's, like Floyd, there's no denying that, whether or not you would pin Yes down specifically as a space rock band, which I don't think you could.
I was thinking about them also. Is it or is it not? But like Fragile and all that, it definitely, looks like from another world.
One that is, though, and I'd been kind of saving this for our eventual discussion on concept albums, and this is John Anderson of Yes and the album Olias of Sun Hollow. This is a concept album about space travel, and it's really very intricate. And this, I think, it's symphonic like Yes in a way, but it also really leans more toward the space rock side of things because of its content. I forget exactly what the holy cow, the album itself, it's got like a little booklet in here that explains if you're a sci-fi fan, this is there. So, but it follows the, I'm trying to think here. I did read about this a while ago. I'm going to have to go back. We'll do an episode on concept albums, but this one, very concept-y when it comes to its subject matter.
Yeah.
Now I'm very also nice. In the 70s. You're kind of skipping into the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so let me go through a couple more of mine from the 70s here. The aforementioned Clatu in just a second, and I think I've talked about these before. This is Neil Merriweather, another Canadian. Really kind of a blues guitarist in his later years. He did a lot of stuff Very evocative of that. But these two albums from his career, Space Rangers from 1970, it was on here. I keep, I'm losing my track here, Steve, with the dates on these today. But, oh, heck, it is here somewhere. I saw it earlier. Anyhow, 77 and 74 and I'm sorry, 74 and 75. So Space Rangers and Kryptonite, both really neat themed space albums. The first one, what caught my ear with Neil Merriweather was when I heard a cover of him doing 8 Miles High and Sunshine, another one of Sunshine Superman. And those are both on this album, the Space Rangers album. So the Byrds, 8 Miles High, again, about an astronaut traveling. So that's obviously very well themed in this, the Neil Merriweather stuff. But it's just very, very cool stuff. There is another one on here, Soul Survivor, and King of Mars is just kind of this sprawling, epic sci-fi song that's in there as well. And then Kryptonite, very, very cool as you go through. Now, the Clatu stuff that I'd mentioned earlier in the recent pickups, obviously they were the song Calling Occupants. Now, did you know that? I always thought it was a Carpenter song, to tell you the truth.
I did too. And you know what that was? I got that song stuck in my head so bad. I thought I was going to have to be committed. It just wouldn't come out. And I just, oh my God, I just despise it now because it, almost sent me into a mental meltdown.
There's a few other ones on here that embrace that space as well. I gotta be careful here with our rating, including a song called Anus of Uranus. And I'll say the scientific pronunciation of the planet. So, it's just an interesting one. And then on their second album, the Clatu, Hope is the name of this album. Around the Universe is on this. Around the Universe in 80 Days, rather. The Loneliest of Creatures and Lighthouse Keeper and Hope. So cool stuff. But again, per the previous discussion, it sounds like the Beatles to me. So one of the other things that the info that we dug up on this, and it mentioned krautrock. And I know we're digging into getting closer into the late 70s, mid to late 70s and into the 80s where you've got some stuff. I don't know if I agree with the idea that krautrock is intricately tied to space rock or not. Because for me at least, when you think krautrock, you get into the likes of Kraftwerk and stuff along those lines, which is more electronic. But one of the ones that they bring up is the group Can. Well, Gong is Gong krautrock? I'm not very familiar with Gong.
They labeled it as krautrock, but I think they're a little different genre personally, but I can see Gong fitting into this.
Yep. As well as, the same thing with Can. The Ege Bamiasi, their first album, I do have that. But this is Future Days, and I think if you're going to tie Can and therefore krautrock into the space rock side of things, then Future Days is probably the way to go. This is very light and airy, very keyboard-centric. But with songs like Future Days and Moonshake on here in Bel Air, I guess you could say that flows over to that space rock side of things, even though I don't technically agree that krautrock is going to be intricately space rock.
Yeah. I can't. I think it just depends on the group. Definitely Kraftwerk would not be.
No.
But that's, to me, a whole different type of krautrock than what that Can would be.
So now we find ourselves moving to the 80s. I bypassed Rush. I'll kind of wrap up with Rush. We'll come back around and I'll, because I've got to mention Rush at least once per episode.
Well, okay. So mid 80s going into the 90s was incredible for albums that they say are very much space rock. And again, it's the Shoegaze. And we'll just begin with this group. And it's Spacemen 3.
Yep.
Which I have an incredible amount of albums from Spacemen 3. I was looking at, man, there's a lot of stuff here, between the live stuff and everything. This is a concept album. So when we do the concept album, we can talk more about that. But definitely druggy music. They were heavily influenced by Suicide. They were influenced by Red Cross. but this album, Sound of Confusion, came out in 1986. And this here, The Perfect Prescription, came out in 1987. So droney, lots of drone. There's keyboards and everything happening on here. Drug reference all over the place. So it does have a spacier, different kind of feel to it, to me, beginning of that shoegaze special effects pedals and everything.
In that same era, and I don't have any, I think I've got a Bauhaus album at home, but would you throw Bauhaus into there? And then, of course, later on, Love and Rockets, right into the name Love and Rockets evokes that.
I just, to me, those are just pure goth. The Love and Rockets were getting away from goth, but I think of them more as college rock.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But that kind of feels like a natural flow of that kind of dreamy drone feel.
Oh, sure.
Albeit goth side of things. That's another one of those offshoots. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, now do we have to start talking goth? But let's not go there.
So I got a lot.
Yes.
So also out of the UK, so Hawkwind was out of the UK. Spaceman 3 is out of the UK. Loop is out of the UK. And Loop only had, I believe, 3 albums that they did, possibly 4. 85 to 90 is when they were around. And they were very repetitive, noisy psych. And lots of riffs, psych riffs happening on here. Even if you look them up in Discogs, it's going to say space rock. And this is their very first album, Heaven's End, came out in 1987. It's just an incredibly good album. To me, if you have one Loop album, it's the one that you should get. You definitely can feel that space rock type droning and spacey feel, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, really, really good. Then out of the UK in that same time period, UK to me is just space rock central. I think we got more stoner rock, which we'll talk a little bit about that, but US really went into the stoner rock and UK was space rock. But Outskirts of Infinity. And Outskirts of Infinity formed in the 80s. They're still happening, still going around. This is their first one here, Lords of the Dark Sky, which, you could see by the cover art, trippy.
Very cool.
Nick Solomon from the Beavis Front played on this album. And then we have here Scenes from the Dreams of Angels. These are their first 2 albums. This one came out in 87. This one came out in 89. They definitely are very psych, very, very heavy psych. Lyrically, it gets spacey. It goes out into interplanetary things. Incredible. This one here, the first one, especially Lords of the Dark Sky, just blew my mind. It was just so interesting, so much fun. After these 2 albums, it kind of began to change, like most groups tend to do, but yeah, very much. Which then from the UK, the Beavis Front. And Nick Solomon basically is the Beavis Front. And, there's other people on here. Very heavy psych. Started in 86. The Beavis Front, still going on, still making new music. We have, let's see here. Marshland is this one here. This one came out in 87. Miasma came out in 87 also. He's known to just put out a couple albums a year. He's so freaking prolific. Extreme Psych. Jimi Hendrix he was a huge Jimi Hendrix fan, which you hear in the fuzzy guitars that are going on, which is the same with Outskirts of Infinity, the same kind of thing. Acid blues are happening, but very trippy, very out there. Cries from the Inner Marshland, Reflections in a Tall Mirror. I've got Eyes in the Back of My Head. Those kind of songs. It really fits into the whole space rock thing. I got quite a few from him. Again, his can be up and down with that. from the UK in this time period, and pure space rock, Ozric Tentacles.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And Ozric Tentacles formed in '83, still putting out music. In fact, this one here, I have Space for the Earth, came out in 2020. Jurassic Shift was the first time I ever heard of Ozric Tentacles. It came out in '93. This is just a heck of a space rock. I mean, it's trippy. It's so much synthesizer happening in there with guitars and instrumental. It's very much it's instrumental. Exciting stuff. It's progressive. It's spacey. Very psychedelic, and it's a group that I only have 2 albums. I enjoy them, but this is something I pull. Jurassic Shift, I do really, really like to play, though. I mean, that was my foray into this group, but boy, do they got a lot of albums.
Let me kick in a couple too, right in that
Yeah.
vein. And I'm
You bet.
not very familiar with these guys at all, but I do dig them. I've had them for a while, and I need to go back to them. And that's the Dukes of the Stratosphere.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I think that this is going to kind of tread the line of is it straight up space rock or not? But the Dukes of the Stratosphere and their 25 o'clock, and the Sonic Sunspot with P's on each of those. So the titles and covers alone will get you there, but this is really good rock with that good psychedelic tinge to it. From the 80s.
Yeah. From the 80s.
Yep.
Moving still kind of 80s, going into the 90s, it's that shoegaze.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of, as we talked about, I was kind of shocked when they said shoegaze is like space rock. There's parts of it, the drone, I don't know, all the effects pedals, but I have a lot of shoegaze, especially from the UK.
Yep.
Yes.
Gee.
Ride. Yeah, Ride is one of the most important shoegaze albums. The group formed in '88, still going on. This one came out in '91. Very much a classic of the shoegaze genre. And I just recently bought this Chapter House, which really is good. 87 to 93. Whirlpool is their first full-length album, came out in '91. Classic examples of shoegaze. I guess similar to space rock, there's definitely drone. I mean,
Yep.
You hear Spaceman 3, and maybe that's the connection. It's that Spaceman 3 type feel coming through. Do they sing about drones? Yeah, of course they do. I mean, that seemed to just be part of shoegaze. But really nice, good stuff. All out of the UK.
Wow. Now, we don't have to do a shoegaze episode now, I think.
No, we probably don't have to. Now, here's one from the U.S. that they put in there. It's considered stoner rock, but they said, space rock. And again, we took this from different resources that we've been reading, folks.
Yep.
I mean, we actually read before we do this
We do.
and study. We spend hours and hours in libraries and pulling up stuff on the internet. It's incredible what goes into the show.
It's
People
a lot
just
of
don't know what
research,
goes on
right?
behind the scenes.
And
Yes.
it's Discogs and what they label them.
Caius.
Oh,
And
yep.
I mean, Caius is the godfather of stoner rock. Heavy drug references once again. But they're saying, okay, the difference between stoner rock and space rock is they both get into this kind of a riff, this repeating riff that's going on, except I believe it said space rock is more synth, more transcendental, while stoner rock is more of this vibe that's happening. Yep. Stoner rock is heavier bass coming in, heavier rock type of sound over space rock. But they listed this one as kind of space rock, and it's Blues for the Red Sun, which is, to me, the best of the Caius albums. And so when I was listening to that, then I pulled out this one. And this is a group, it's called Endless Boogie. And Endless Boogie, these guys formed in the teens, and they're still going on. very much stoner rock, but there is a difference. This has that lower bass, but it's groove. I mean, it's, when it says boogie, it is an endless boogie happening on there. Very, very groove oriented, and it fits into that stoner rock category. While here it is different. It's, there's more to this Caius. But I was kind of surprised about that when they're, considering some of that in there, Jim.
If we're in the teens, I do have a couple more, and this surprised me.
No, we're not yet.
We're not in the. Are you not in the teens?
No, we got to do this one yet. One last one. Go for
it. Okay.
Spiritualized from Spaceman 3. This is space rock. I mean, you look at there, it's a space rock. Pierce from Spaceman 3 formed this group. It is a beautiful album. There's religion here, a lot about drugs. So drugs and religion all go together. And I guess, out of the UK, surprise. Again, those last two were both from the US, Endless Boogie but stoner rock. So this, if you want one, to me, spiritualized album that's just beautiful to listen to. This one here, ladies and gentlemen, we are floating in space. To me, is one of their. Yeah, in fact, 1997, this came out. I think it's my second favorite album from 1997. It just is beautiful and really nice. And it's on Vinyl Me Please Essential album. So, yeah, really sounds good. Let's move into the teens, Jim.
All right. You're there. Sorry for jumping the gun on that.
That's all right.
How about a mixture of US and UK for this one?
All right.
Let's take the weirdness of Primus's Les Claypool and the progeny of John Lennon, and we get the Claypool-Lennon Delirium, and a couple of their albums featuring Les Claypool and Sean Lennon, of course. This is Monolith of Phobos. I got a gray vinyl version here. So, yeah, this is trippy psych stuff as well, but the one that I really like more was a couple years later from 2019. That's still the teens. That's the Claypool-Lennon Delirium and their South of Reality album. Again, very trippy. Just the cover itself, when the titles of both of these kind of evoke the idea. But again, I don't know if I can call this straight up space rock or not, Steve. It's very cool looking. And I do like this album, but I suppose it is. Let's call it more modern.
Yeah. Well, then, from Japan. And Japan has made, in this century, some of the greatest psych rock, in my opinion, but some falls into the trippy realm of space rock. And Kagaku Moyo. And this is a couple. I have most of their albums, Kagaku Moyo. And again, out of Japan, formed in 2012. I believe they just broke up, but they started a label, Goo Goo Brain, which is a phenomenal label, which even got a planet in this guy's head there. Extreme, trippy, psych. Sometimes they get rock. They go into groove, so they definitely put a groove out there as they're playing. But such an exciting band, and they've put out a number of different albums. You can get obviously represses of them, and they're wonderful stuff. Very much you have that space rock, especially in the earlier stuff.
You're going to have to text me the names and the titles on those for me to look for those on Discogs. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure I could just blindly type in. It's going to think I'm having a seizure.
Papier. There it is. Papier 3. It's a phenomenal album. It is labeled in Discogs as space rock as part of it. The group formed in 2010. Still putting out music. This came out in 2013. Most of their albums are just numbered, with dash signs on here. But space rock, psych rock, and they're out of Denmark. It's instrumental. and it's gorgeous. It's just a delight to put on and listen to. I can't say enough. I just ordered, I said, Papier
Yep.
7 to bring in, because as I've been looking at my favorite albums of the century, I put this on and go, damn, that is so good. So, yeah.
Had you seen or had heard that there was collaborations like this one that I picked up, the Paper Moon sessions with Papier and Electric Moon?
I've heard, but I've never heard anything from it or anything or seen it, And yeah, some of those, like Papier, isn't easy to find. In fact, when I went to order I had ordered the album from Germany. Wow. Because it's not in the U.S. and it wasn't never put out in the U.S. That Papier was sent to me from someone in Europe. And so that's where I got to learn. So to have one is pretty cool in the U.S. because when you go on Discogs, most of them don't have U.S. pressings, but it's a wonderful stuff. I had this out of Australia. Now, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, this is not King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, okay? But I just to mention that group out of Australia, they do have some stuff that would be space, but they're all over the place. So, yes, I mean, you roll the dice on them.
Yeah.
But this one, the name of the group is the Psychedelic Freaks. And this is passing through the doorways of your mind, the Psychedelic Freaks out of Australia. They only put out one album. This is it. I believe it came out in 2020. And it is, think Miles Davis, Electric Period. There's Jimi Hendrix, Cootie, James Brown, Zappa, all influences, but it's a psyche trip. Instrumental, it's jazzy, but it's spacey. And so it gets thrown in as kind of in the space rock category.
That looks familiar. Did you get that from here? Do you remember?
I don't remember, Jim. Most of that collection's from there.
I may have come across that and said, "Wow, that sounds like something Steve would like."
Yeah, it probably. I mean, it very well could have been, Jim, because this isn't something that normally you just like, oh yeah, I better grab that thing, But out of Australia, so cool stuff.
Well, that's what you've got. You're spaced, man. You are well spaced.
There's a lot more, but
I know. Well, we're coming up on time. Let's kick this one more with the more modern stuff. And I pulled this, and we mentioned our good friend Michael Christensen a lot, but he falls into this category, I think, so very nicely. This was his latest album, Evaluation, came out earlier this year. Michael does say that this is psychedelic rock more than anything, but it does have, and I know he doesn't quite like the ambient tag as it's put on there, but I think the content and his covers do qualify this for a modern psychedelic space rock type of sound.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't have the synthesizer or anything, but the way he uses his guitar and the sounds that he pulls out of his guitar, it sounds like. On that one, I asked him, says, "Did you add synths or keys on there?" He goes, "No, that's just my guitar sound."
He can create some very, very cool sounds when you get a chance to do that.
Yeah.
So
and that's still on
all of his
Bandcamp.
albums. Yeah, it's still on Bandcamp. I know he said there was only 100 of them pressed, so you have to find it. And you take the recommendation, both of us, I think we both can't speak highly enough of that. And Michael's older work as well. It's all very in that cool genre, floating between that psychedelic and space. All right, one more mention here, Steve. And this one, much like when we started off talking about Pink Floyd and say, okay, yeah, I can see the space rock elements in there, but I'm not quite comfortable calling them a space rock group straight out. Maybe an album or two, maybe a song or two. That's the way it is for me with Rush. And so, I don't know. There's a wide breadth of things, but if I have to think of sci-fi themed things, there's a few Rush albums and songs that get us there. And it starts right off with 2112. That kind of dystopian future, space travel included on this, Ayn Rand type of storyline. 2112, not especially, but pretty much just side one of that, encapsulates that truly, I think, as a space rock anthem, if you will, Well, I've got my little bumper stickers in the back of 2112. Other albums from Rush have some of that feeling, or some of the songs through there. Most notably, you get a Farewell to Kings, the end of side 2 into the book of Cygnus X1, essentially, book 1 and book 2, which carries over from Farewell to Kings into Hemispheres. So you've kind of got this arcing storyline between 2 records that deals with mythology and space travel and a black hole. It's rather, you got to dig into it. For Record Store Day a couple of years back, they put those 2 together, where it was overarching from 2 albums into a Rush Cygnus X1, book 1, and then book 2 on the backside of this. It's really an extended play because each of the songs are lengthy in themselves, but this puts that arcing storyline from 2 albums that had the connection into 1 record. So you can play the book 1, book 2, and hear that story of space travel. And then finally, this is going to be one that when we end up doing that concept album, we're going to get to. But their last album, Clockwork Angels, does have space rock. It is a space rock theme, even though it's hard rock and it's Rush and it's a concept, but it definitely is a storyline that takes place in space. And we'll dig into that down the line at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm just going to leave my concept albums out so I don't have to figure out what they are when we decide to do it. I go, damn it, what are they?
Well, folks, what do you think? Are there some other space rock straight up groups that we missed? We tried to touch on them, and Steve, for me, this was difficult because, like the Ozric Tentacles, they're going off in so many different directions. Is it drone, which became shoegaze, or does that all come from space rock? Does it have to be drug oriented, or does it have to be sci-fi oriented? All I know is that a lot of it's cool. I really dig a lot of these records.
Yeah, same here. I just, when we began going and I'm putting them, replaying them all, I go, dang, this is so good. My wife hasn't seen me for a week because of it. She seems perfectly happy, though, when I've seen her. So I guess it's okay.
Where are you going, Steve? I'm taking a trip to space, Patty.
That's right. I'm heading up to the rocket ship, baby.
Heading on out. Well, let us know if we missed something or chime in otherwise. We always love hearing from folks. I'm still trying hard to get caught up on some YouTube comments, but they're out there. We do appreciate that. And there are a few comments, Steve, showing up on the Spotify side of things too. So,
oh, is there? Okay.
Yep. As always, we do appreciate you folks watching and listening every single week to 2 guys talking about records. This is still fun, and if it ever isn't, then you'll be able to tell because we're just going to be showing polka records.
Yeah.
Space polkas. I'm going to look for that one.
There we go. Or we'll just relabel ourselves, the Pink Floyd channel.
Oh, well, it may get a little, I like it, but it may get old. So we're going to be accused of that anyhow. But
yeah.
I'll hold off on the boots, Steve. How's that sound?
Yeah, right.
So until next time, my name is Jim, and I own a record store.
And I am Steve, and I am a spaced out record collector.
You have a great one, Steve. Talk to you next week. Thanks again, everybody.
Yep, you too. Bye, everyone.